cowrie shell artifacts have been popular in many parts of the world, but one particular form has been unique, so far found only in the Mariana Islands of Pacific Oceania, and produced only within the first few centuries when people lived here, about 1500 through 1100 BC. This early context was the first time when any people ever lived within the remote distance islands of Pacific Oceania. In this case, the oldest archaeological layers can reveal invaluable information about the first human contact with an entire region of the world. This video concentrates on what we can learn about the unique cowrie shell artifacts from these oldest cultural layers of the Mariana Islands, dated around 1500 through 1100 BC. These tiny artifacts were made from the shells of marine gastropods within the Cyprinidae family. A few pieces were discarded when they still were in the process of manufacture, thereby revealing enough of the original shell to identify the genus and the species within the Cyprinidae family. In some taxonomic classifications, the species is Cypraea moneta, and in other classifications it is Monetaria moneta. The shells were sliced longitudinally, not only on one side but rather on both sides, removing the ventral surface and the dorsal surface. Next, the objects were abraded all around them, creating a polished outward appearance. At the end of this process, none of the original exterior of a shell remained visible. The interior spire-like portion of the shell deliberately was retained intact. This part easily can be broken when an artifact has been buried beneath the ground and subjected to various disturbances over hundreds of years. Many of my colleagues have mistaken the broken pieces as if they were the intended final products. A few of the artifacts have shown the faint traces of a residue or a dye of a red color. In this case, the artifacts probably were used in connection with a fiber, a woven element, or another kind of perishable material that included the red color. After several centuries, only the shell pieces have survived in the ancient archaeological layers. Technically, these artifacts are described as beads because a line, twine, or fiber could be strung through them. More specifically, they may have been set into a woven surface or a clothing, basket, or another item. Possible analogies have been documented during the 20th century in parts of New Guinea. Cowrie shells and other shells were sewn or inlaid into various woven goods, including personal adornments for ceremonial regalia, as well as multi-component constructions described as religious reliquaries. The cowrie shells were sliced only on one side, unlike the double slicing in the Mariana's case. The double-sliced shells appear to be from a small but thick freshwater shell, not the same as working with the tinier and thinner Cyprinidae marine shells in the Mariana's case. These historical or modern parallels are provided only for illustrating how the ancient Mariana's artifacts could have been used. This analogy does not imply that the two regions were connected or that the cultural traditions transferred from one place to another. The time periods are separated by more than 3,000 years. Nothing in the archaeological records of the time, in the historical linguistic comparisons, or in the ancient DNA studies have indicated a direct connection. The particular artifacts in the Mariana Islands were found only in small quantities and only within the first few centuries of when people first lived in the islands around 1500 through 1100 BC. Thereafter, a few similar beads were less finely made and less thoroughly polished, continuing until perhaps 500 BC. The early context coincided with the finely decorated pottery, other specialized shell ornaments, and a particular ancient coastal habitat ecology that all ended around 1100 BC, due to a change in sea level. Overall, these artifacts were rare when compared to the much more abundant plain and utilitarian products. Although occurring in small numbers overall, the densest concentrations of these specialized artifacts were outside a cave in Guam, where people accessed this place periodically for ritual or ceremonial purposes while actually residing at a separate nearby habitation area. The apparent ritual or ceremonial context could suggest that the cowrie shell artifacts were used as parts of ceremonial regalia, religious reliquaries, or another specialized purpose apart from the routines of everyday life. The specific cultural function or meaning currently is unknown. Based on the facts that are known, what are your thoughts about these ancient cowrie shell artifacts? As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.